こんにちは、ななみです。
こんにちは。
パパです。
パパです。
のです。パパです。
パパです。
ママです。
パパです。
So today I have some question because the forward, my fan, asked me a lot of question about the au pair and babysitter and about the kids. So can I ask you some questions?
Of course.
Okay. So first, what is the difference of the babysitter and au pair?
Alright.
Because in Japan,
Yeah.
the babysitter is not popular,
Okay.
and then au pair is no
Not
one is
popular
no.
at all. So the difference is an au pair is the whole idea of the exchange program. So you have someone coming, living with you for 1 year, and it's about, you know, having an au pair taking care of your kids, but also really becoming part of your family, and you teaching them about the culture where you live, and inserting them into everything that you do. Where when you have a babysitter, it's more like they come just for the day or just for a few hours. It's more like you need help from 4 to 6, or in the evening if you have a dinner and you just need someone to come to your house and help you out just there, and then they go home afterwards. What I really like about the au pair is, one, yes, part of the family. I think it's so great. Two, as a parent, is to have someone you can rely on. So I know that every morning I'm gonna wake up and Nanami's gonna be right there. There's no, like, oh my god, what if the babysitter is not coming today because she's, because she has to take care of her own kids, or because she forgot, or because, and then I have to go to work, and then I'm like, oh. But with an au pair,
Just open the door.
hello! Your turn.
Hi. I agree. I concur.
Anything else?
Yeah, it's also about language and having another education in the house, along with somebody to take care of your kids. They're also there to help teach your kids about something that we couldn't provide information about.
For sure. And for us, it's been amazing to have another language in the house, and for the kids to speak Japanese. It's not something that we could have provided that easily here. And for you to be teaching us a lot about Japanese life and feeding Winston Japanese meals every day.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. It's popular in Belgium.
Not as much. No, usually because daycares where you can go put your baby, it's like almost free, or it's really cheap. So there's a better system in Belgium to take care of the kids, and then you can have a babysitter, and it's cheap and it's easy afterwards if you need to. But here in the US, because it's so expensive to send your kids to daycare.
Here. How about the public preschool?
There's
How
no.
much? Like a normally price is
In the United States,
uh-huh.
Public. So there's not a free public preschool, and so if you're paying to send your kid to like a daycare, then you're paying as much as, or maybe on average, $1,500.
To $2,400 a month.
So $2,000 a month.
How long the time?
From year 0 to year.
No, from 9 in the morning until 3 or 4 in the afternoon, and sometimes less. Right?
Yeah.
Sometimes 10 to 2 or something.
And so that's from year 0, right, to when your child can go to school, and that's when they're 5 years old. So from 0 to 5 years old, you need to find a solution, and sometimes it's that amount of money. So that's where the au pair system, yes, it's expensive, but at the same time, you have someone you can rely on and who will hopefully give your kid all the love that they need.
So like a babysitter, au pair, and daycare is most expensive, right?
Yeah. I mean, otherwise you need to have family to take care of, but it's it's not easy to have someone from your family have time, or the mom doesn't work. But in my case,
Yeah, but with so many American families now, both parents are working.
Yeah.
So you find help one way or the other.
But I hear that au pair is from the Europe,
That's
but
true.
not popular in Belgium.
But it's funny. So there's a lot of au pairs coming from Europe. I haven't seen any from Belgium actually.
Oh, really?
But I know for the French, the Swedish, Germans, really popular program for them to come here. But I don't know about
To go there.
For Americans, we don't go. There's not like growing up in the United States. Nobody talks about becoming an au pair and going somewhere else. No, it's not really like a. We don't return the service elsewhere. I don't know why Americans find au pair programs so attractive. Maybe because the United States is such a big place that to have somebody coming from Europe or from another part of the world is very attractive because you might not otherwise have exposure to someplace so far away. I don't know why it's actually so popular with having Europeans in the US. What do you think?
Yeah, it's funny. I have another question.
Yeah.
Why do you want to teach Japanese your kids? This is I always
number one question.
Number one question.
Okay, so
Well, probably for a couple of reasons. One was sort of a matter of circumstance. So when we were in Los Angeles, which is where Madeleine was born, she was in a daycare there, but we needed some additional help, extra hours beyond daycare. And one of her daycare teachers, when she was first born, was a Japanese woman who we loved, who we got along with very well. And so she became our babysitter on the side when we needed extra hours. And just because we were excited about having maybe another language in the house, we asked her to start speaking Japanese with Madeleine. But this was very coincidental, and it wasn't part of our grand plan to have Japanese in the house. But then at the same time, Victoria and I were also both, for some reason, curious, becoming passionate, interested in Japanese culture. For me, it's partly architecture. For Victoria, I think it's also something about an aesthetic and about sort of a way of life that we admire about Japanese culture as we know it sort of historically in Europe and the US. And so we took a trip to Japan, a 3-week trip to Japan when Madeleine was just a year and a half old. And loved our time there in Tokyo and Kyoto and Naoshima and Matsumoto, and really loved our time. Found the culture really interesting, the people really kind, a lot of precision and order and a sense of discipline, which we really liked, but also beautiful and creative and artistic. So having this combination of things culturally that we could imbue into our kids was really appealing. I think that was the gist of it. And then when we moved back here from California, close to New York City, we sort of didn't know, but a big Japanese culture in Greenwich because there are so many Japanese companies nearby that have offices, so lots of Japanese families are here. And so there was a Japanese school right in Greenwich that even though I grew up in Greenwich when I was young, I didn't know existed.
Oh, really?
No, I didn't know at all. And so we moved back to Greenwich, and I was driving one day and we needed to find a daycare for Madeleine when we had moved back. And I stopped at a red light and I looked out my window and there was a Japanese daycare program and we were looking for a daycare, and so we called them and we did a tour and we loved it. And so then that sort of reinforced the...
And we had visited like a lot of other schools here
that were not Japanese.
that were not Japanese, and that was like the first one that we're like totally in love with. I think one of the things for me was also with Urara in California. It was the first time that Madeleine had a babysitter who did so many creative things, not only with her but with us. She taught me how to sew. Her mom was making those amazing dolls, and she was always creating things. She would come to Madeleine, one evening, and she would come and take this like special board and bring paints and she would do painting with Madeleine, and then they would cook, and then they would there's always something fun happening. And also I love the fact that it was always, even if it was structured and creative, it was always very calm. There was no screaming, there was it was always peaceful, and I think Madeleine responded very well to that. So when we visited the Japanese school, it was kind of that same feeling. The teachers were, and I remember all the creative things that they did when she was there. It was incredible. And at the same time, I had that same feeling of it's peaceful, it's quiet, it's organized. Like Madeleine was very disciplined, like learning about washing hands and asking for privacy in the bathroom. Like I knew it was not from being with us. It was from Japanese school. Learning how to wear little shorts under her dress. Like it was just like all these little things. And like the dexterity, like how she learned to use her hands, and I love all of that. And then we got to that school, and then we decided to find an au pair. And then when we saw your profile online, it was kind of like, oh, that makes sense, and you fit perfectly what we thought we needed, and we did. And then we put Madeleine into the Saturday Japanese school, and then it just makes sense for our family. And now I can't imagine not having Japanese not be part of our life. So I hope we can continue with the kids for as long as possible.
Yeah, it's true. It sort of snowballed. At first, it was a small thing, like we want to learn some more creative ways, some like dexterity, these little exercises the little kids can do. And then it was okay, great. We'll start the school, learn a little bit more about the culture. Oh, now there's a language opportunity with an au pair. Oh, now there's a Saturday school that Madeleine can do when she's in American school. And all of a sudden, the commitment to Japanese language and Japanese culture has gotten bigger and bigger, and now it's part of the family, like and hopefully forever.
I think Mana is good because she can read the Japanese. So if I saw the news about the kids can read, so the kids can continue to the running.
Okay, so long as they can start to read.
Nice.
So no, she's okay.
Yeah.
I have another question. So kind of the same. Did you look for the only Japanese au pair?
So I was kind of looking all over. There were only 2 profiles that I liked. The other was like a Thai girl who seemed really good. But then we interviewed both of you, and we felt like you were the right choice, and then it made sense with our family. And we didn't look for Japanese at first, but it was like a nice to have. And then now we're like, no, we just need Japanese now.
Oh, yeah! Another question. So that question is my sister's friend said, have you ever been jealous when we were speaking Japanese and you couldn't understand?
With the kids? That's funny. And maybe it's going to get that way in the future. But for me so far, it's been curious. Like it's been interesting to see it happen, and sort of nice for the kids, I think, to have ownership, to be able to have something that's just for them and with you, that's not the parents, I think that's a really good, like, sort of independent thing for the kids to have. I've never felt jealous. We always sort of watched with sort of excitement and curiosity and amazement.
Like, what's happening? But it's like, okay. And I mean, and I would love it if like Madeleine and Winston would speak to one another just in Japanese and have their own thing. I mean, that'd be great. And I feel like we don't feel jealous just because, there's French, there's English, like it's a mix of everything, and everybody's trying to like figure it out. But it's funny how Madeleine plays sometime where like we'll tell you something, and so just like, don't tell mom or whatever in Japanese, and then Nanami is like, do you know? And I'm like, what? I feel like also now we can pick up on some words, not a lot.
But now when I speak in Japanese to Madeleine and Winston, they understand what.
Sometimes.
I never understand.
Really?
I look at Victoria like.
Yeah, I know that Victor can understand.
Just like she thinks now, like that I've heard some words often enough that I'm like, okay, like kind of like I don't know the whole thing, but I'm like, yeah, okay.
Yeah. My sister's friend said, "Are you sure? Are you okay?" Maybe. They didn't tell me.
That's okay. No, not jealous.
But now I'm teaching the Mandarin. So Japanese, the speaking is so mommy and daddy don't know how to speak and understand. So you can like a secret word. So
Awesome.
if you want to do something with Winston, you can talk to the in Japanese. So the mommy and daddy don't know. So maybe you can wake up with Winston in the middle of the night. So you you can play with Winston only. 12 and then baby. So
Oh my god. We're gonna be outnumbered. They're gonna be 3, we're gonna be 2. They'll speak Japanese.
So one day when you woke up and then check the kids' room,
Nobody's here. They're on their plane to see you.
Be careful.
And,
Another question is what is the difference about the kids between I came here and before I came here and then now?
It's a good question. I mean, Winston was 3 months old, like he was.
No,
How old was he?
November. I came November.
Oh yeah, so 6 months
6 months.
actually.
That was
Still, he was
nice.
so tiny. I mean, to me, it's like Winston spends all his time with you. So, and clearly, he eats the food that you eat more than our food. He doesn't like cheese, he doesn't like avocado. How is he part of this family?
And hamburger.
And hamburger. What?
That's good. Everybody thinks we don't need cheeseburgers, avocado,
No,
and
cheese, avocado. So, yeah, I mean, I think you're his main. You've spent more time with him than anybody else. So he's really attached to you and your way you have your routine and you have your whole little life with him, which is pretty wonderful. And then I think Madeleine, her development of the Japanese language and how you've like taken that on, like we didn't ask you, we asked you, yeah, help, like, you know, help us with this, but like you really took ownership and did all the flashcards and you know, you were like, okay, we're gonna do the calendar and then we're gonna learn this, and Pete and I are like, okay.
Yeah, it's nice. She has a different relationship with you than she does with us because you are more like she has to respect you like a parent, but also she thinks of you like a big sister, and so there's like a different. It's more of like a love for you, and for us, it's more of like a hard respect or something like that. It's she can do things with you that she could do with a sister that she can't do with parents, you know. And so when you're teaching with her, she's listening to you more easily, as opposed to with us. Sometimes she thinks that she's taking orders or something, and so she's much more willing. It's interesting to watch how you can convince her to do certain things, which for us would be so much more difficult to convince her to do. So like learning Japanese, when she sits down to do the Japanese homework with you, it's like very peaceful, and she does it no problem. And when we sit down to do her homework, it's like wrestling match every time, you know?
Yeah.
Not
So-
every time.
Not every time.
Almost every time.
But so the way they've learned, so Madeleine was 4 years old when you arrived here?
No, 3.
Almost 3, yeah, 3,
Almost 4.
3, almost 4. And now she's almost 6. And so, like, the way she is learning, or like a commitment to learning things with you, it's become, like the learning process has become very normal for her, which is great, right? Like the education is very normal. She's learning from you different language, all kinds of things. And it's just part of the day-to-day. It's not like she's in school with you. Yeah, so that's been super.
But I feel like she also asks you a lot of questions about your life in Japan and you know, tell me funny stories,
Yeah.
and like she wants to
Yeah.
know so much about who you are, what you do, how you grew up, and she's learning from that. And I think that's so wonderful too, because then it's opening how she sees the world and how, you know, she's not just like stuck in here, just knowing people around her. It's like, no, there's a whole world out there. There are people who speak different languages and look different. Like, we're all different, and that's what's so wonderful. And I'm so happy to create little humans who are gonna be global citizens.
Good, thank you. Future Japanese au pair, like Japanese people cannot like speak like a how do you say like a, it's like a not perfect English because we don't learn that English because only Japanese culture. So like the Japanese au pair want to improve the English skill, but they are not like a little bit like can speak the English. So like sometimes ask me the question like I can speak the English like just a little bit I can speak, but how can I find like a American host family, because if the Japanese au pair like a Japanese family, the host family like a half like a mom or dad, one parent, the Japanese parent want to pick the Japanese au pair because that they want to teach the Japanese to kids, but
they don't learn.
But their parents want to come and speak English, learn English.
So like how like the American family like speak the English to like host family. What is the important thing like issue? Can you understand this question?
Yeah. So, I mean, go for it.
Oh, no,
No?
you said you understand the question. I don't understand the question. Do you mean like how can Japanese potential au pairs learn English, or like set themselves up to be more attractive to families who are going to speak English with them? Is that?
Yeah, right, like how to interview well to become like to go to American families. Yeah? Yeah.
So interviewing. So it's about interviewing well?
So yeah, it's about interviewing well. So one, I will say, keep on practicing your English as much as you can by,
Yeah.
I mean, what I did when I grew up, because I didn't grow up speaking English, was watching TV shows, watching Friends. First in...
Is that a thing? Do you watch Friends? Did you watch Friends? Okay.
Watching first, it was like you watching, you know, English with subtitles in Japanese from it was French, and then once you've watched all the series and you kind of know it, then you do English with subtitle English, and then you do English no subtitles, like you do little by little. But it's important to talk and practice, and I think what's important with American families is have confidence. Don't be scared. Your English is not going to be perfect during your interview, and it's okay, but try it as much as you can. You know what questions they're going to ask you, kind of, right? You know who you are, what's your story, how do you take care of kids, prepare those questions, rehearse in front of your mirror, rehearse with friends around you, like the more you practice, the better it will be. And then tell them like how excited you are about joining an American family and how you want to work on your English. And yes, it might not be perfect, but you're working on it now and you'll continue to do so. I think that's what...
Yeah, I think that's the most important thing is demonstrate for the American family that you're really excited about learning English, and if they want to match with you, that you're really enthusiastic and energetic about coming and learning as much as you can while you're with them. Because all they really want is somebody who's going to come and take care of the kids, but really engage with the family and want to learn as much as they can to be a part of the family. And so if you can get that across in your presentation, like you're really committed to doing what you have to do to become a part of the family, then that's the most important part.
I see. Good luck.
Good luck.
Don't be afraid. Just don't be afraid. It's okay.
Yeah, my question is yeah, that's it. So
That's it?
thank you.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Arigato.
Bye bye.
Bye, Smee.